My name is Melissa Zirkle. I am a former 2013, I guess, alumni of Teach for America. I worked at an elementary school called Whittier Elementary School for 5 years. I taught a variety of first, second, and third grades. From there, I moved to another school in KCPS called James Elementary, and now I'm currently at a middle school, Lincoln College Prep Middle, as a vice principal. So I want a disclaimer and start by saying that while I'm, in the middle school setting, the real true work and where my heart lives is in lower elementary. And it's so incredibly important. And I couldn't be more excited to work with you, maybe just the two of us intimately, maybe some other people. So here's Martha. So today in our work together, I think it's really important to name that the work in elementary school is so important, specifically K-1-2, because we know that the research that says that highlights the connection between the school to prison pipeline and how important it is to reach kids in those early years. We know by third grade, they start to make really jarring statistics become or they try to make them become a reality. And that's why I find the work in K-1-2 so exciting and meaningful. We get to have a direct influence over that. And because of that, you get to change kids' outlooks and influence them and help them to become leaders that they are. So I'm excited to dive in deep with you. But since I now see Martha, hello, Martha. I know you just turned yourself on mute really fast before we begin. No, it's okay.
Went out, so I'm from my phone, but I want to see, so.
It is totally fine. Libby told me just not to worry. It's okay. You haven't missed much. Can you really fast, just so I understand a little bit more about the audience? Can you tell me what you teach, what school you're at, and what you love about your kids or your school?
Okay. My name is Marta Martin. I'm a first grade teacher from Carver Duolingo. I teach in Spanish, first grade. And what I love about my school, the diversity. We have a lot of diversity and inclusion on it. So I love the school.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate hearing a little bit more about the insight. Just gives me a little bit of background so I know exactly who we're working with. And I think that will help to really frame our session today, which is all around vision. So we'll get started. So here's our first opener, and I'm going to make sure that for access, you should have access to this slideshow. If you don't have it open already, you'll need access to this deck so that you can actually type into it. Martha, if it's hard for you to toggle between phone and Google Slides, we can just orally do it, so don't worry at all. So I want you to think, yes, you're welcome. So it's 10 years from now and you run into a few of your students. What do you hear in your conversation that signifies that they are on a path to living out their dreams? And what do they remember about their time with you? So I'm going to set a timer for 2 minutes, and you're going to find an image, a phrase, a quote, any kind of visual or word representation, and you're going to share it in the slide deck. And then Martha, if we want to collaborate in some way, if you want to put it in the chat, if that's easier, or talk it out, that's totally fine. All right, I'm going to put a timer on for 2 minutes. I'll put some music lightly in the background. We've got about 1 minute left.
I wrote something down, but I realized that we have to find an image or a quote.
You can.
It's taking a minute.
That's okay. That's no worries. Do you have access to the Google Slides? Like, can you edit that?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I'm on it.
Good. Awesome. It was a fast 2 minutes. So let me get out of the slideshow for a second, make sure that I can, oh, I see my anonymous beaver in there. Why don't we take like another minute? I know it was quick, but you are finding an image, a phrase, a quote that represents your response, and make sure you paste it in there. Martha, do you want me to pop anything in for you, or are you able to access it?
No, I'm not able to access, but I think that what I want to hear from them is that it's okay to be afraid, name it, and keep going. You know, it's okay. I want to hear that from them. Like, it's okay to be afraid, to be nervous. It's okay to name it, to recognize it, name it, and keep going.
I like it. Well, thank you for jumping right in. I appreciate that. So tell us a little bit more about why that is a value to you. That like fear of like no fear, fearless learning and leading. Why is that important to you?
Why? Because I think one, because of my background. Two, because I'm working with people they have the similar background of me, and sometimes they feel that it's gonna be overwhelming. It's gonna be too crazy to start studying or to do something academically in this language. So that's why it's important to me for them to recognize it, so they can recognize that, okay, it's okay, I'm gonna be nervous, it's gonna be overwhelming, I'm gonna name it, but I'm still gonna be willing, I'm capable of doing it. So that's why it's important to me, that little.
I like it. I hear a little bit of grit in there too. I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing, Martha. Miranda, tell us more about the image that you pasted into the slideshow.
I really liked this quote because I think what I was thinking of, like, that I would hear in the conversation would be just my students feeling confident in whatever they're doing, and that, like, in their abilities and in themselves. And so I think that I would know that I would want them to remember me by, like, not just preparing them to succeed academically, but in all aspects in life.
I like that. Yeah. Thank you so much for telling us more about why this is important to you. And as we welcome on Koi, I'm excited that we are finally a mighty group of 3. We can get them on in just a moment. But basically what we did was we just made and discussed a vision board. So you're talking about the things that are really important to you, And I know we just added on another person. I'd love to hear more from each of you. What are the things that you noticed about that were important to each other? And then what does that say about our collective vision? Hi,
There we
Corey.
go. Hi, sorry about that.
That's okay. No worries. We're going to catch you up real fast. So we are talking about some images, and then also Martha had shared her importance with her why, how it connects to her vision of what kids would say about her or what they had experienced. And so I'm curious to hear from all of you now. What did you hear that resonated with you about others, what they had shared? And Corey, you kind of get a pass on this for now. And what does that mean? Like, what are these important things? How do you know that they're important to other people?
When Martha was sharing, I heard a lot of resilience in what she shared, like students not being afraid to get back up and try again. And that's really important in life in general. That's one of my core values, and I think that I could definitely see that in Martha as well.
I like that. Thank you so much. Martha, can you add on what values did you identify in what Miranda had shared?
I think when Miranda was sharing, something that caught my eyes was I don't know if I'm gonna be able to see the code again because let me see. It says,
Our job is not to prepare students for something. Our job is to help students prepare themselves for anything.
I like that anything.
Mm-hmm.
That was the phrase that they stick with me, like that anything that means it's not gonna be only on the professional, it's gonna be on the life, it's gonna be in the routine, it's gonna be in everything in a community. That's the part that resonates with me. How they can connect and what it is the meaning of that anything. That's the part that stuck in me.
Mm-hmm. I hear that connection and through line between the both of you. Corey, I want to hear a little bit more from you. You don't have to paste anything into the slideshow, but if you could talk to us a little bit about if you saw students 10 years from now, what would you hear in their conversation that signifies they're on the path to living out their dream, or what do they remember in their time with you?
I think one thing that I would want them to at least be able to carry on from what I have been able to taught them is that they're able to kind of just manage themselves, and that they're comfortable with where they're at, especially going off of this quote as well. One of my core values is personal development, and my other two kind of go along with that and help aid that. And one of my key things that I want to do in the classroom is just to try to grow them as well, not just focus solely on the education piece or all of that, but I want them to be able to better themselves as people, regardless of what avenue that is down. And so I try to share a lot of those kind of like components that they're able to learn those pieces that they can better themselves through, whether that's communication, gathering their emotions, how they speak, how they present themselves, whatever that may be.
I like that. Thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate that. And I hear really powerful things that resonate with each of you. And I'm really excited. I have some things that I think will help cultivate what you guys are looking for in this session today. So in addition, I just want to make sure that I'm naming that in addition to our time together this morning, we are really framing our thinking around what it looks like to create a more equitable education for students. And we do this by setting clear goals and strategies so that we can name what's possible for our kids, and then we can be on that path to support them so that they can realize their dreams and make sure that their needs are fully represented and met. So thank you for sharing. I think all of your responses really, truly capture that. So really quickly, I want to make sure that we are focused on our aims as well. So to strive for excellence in our teaching, we must engage in the practice of sharing and examining our bar of excellence as it applies to our general content area, the best content team there is, K1-2. So take a minute to read out those aims to yourself. So thinking about that first bullet point, we examine our bar of excellence for our general content area. I'd love to hear from each of you, what do we mean by bar of excellence?
When I think of bar of excellence, I just kind of think of um, like how far we want to get them. So like what are my guidelines? What is my criteria that I'm trying to have them meet in the classroom? Whether that's something with school, like is my bar of excellence that I'm drawing the line at, like just we'll just say like a B for this one test, or whatever else that may be.
I like that. I think to frame that up, these are our goals, our expectations, our priorities as they apply to our content. So thank you for sharing. So thinking even more deeply into that next bullet point, we build consensus on what we will constitute a dramatically more equitable educational experience for your students. Somebody else, why do we, what's the connection between the bar of excellence and your vision and strategic plan? So what's the connection? And there's no right or wrong answer, so don't worry. Martha and Miranda, what are you thinking?
I was thinking that like our expectations are, because that's what I was thinking with bar of excellence as well. Like we have to know what our end goal is. It's for the sake of strategic planning and our vision. I connect that with vision in a way.
Yes. Right on. Yeah, absolutely. We have to have that vision and know what we're aiming for. So making sure that we have a connection and a through line between those two really helps us to make a real lived experience for kids. Okay, so Martha, why do we do this examination of vision and the strategic plan and all of this work? Why do we do this together? Why is that important? You are muted.
I think the reason is to build a strong relationship and community sense, and to see different point of view, or recognize and name what the other person, how that person is visualizing it in that way, and to bring to the table a discussion on the different point of view. I don't know if I explain myself.
Yeah, absolutely. You all are at different schools and have different experiences, though our content area is the same. Our kids and their own lives are very different and unique as well. So I'm really excited because the things that we get to discuss today, you can gather all of these ideas and figure out what this looks like for you. How can you turnkey the things that the other people in this group are doing so that you can also replicate that and make this a truly culturally responsive experience for kids. And again, it's all centered around pushing the bar of excellence. We want all kids to have that experience and that we stop at nothing to achieve that. Absolutely. Okay, so a quick hit on your theory of leadership too. So you're looking at the program model right now, and I want to draw a specific note to some of the stars that you see embedded into this graphic right here. These are the components that we're really focusing on. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds just to read where you see the black stars in the graphic. So I want to be really clear that today's outcomes derive from this entire theory of leadership. And we are primarily focusing on the group and the system sphere of vision and the self sphere of strategic action. So can I get one person to share out these outcomes that are bulleted today?
Center on what is possible by affirming the assets of children and the opportunities aligned to their dreams. Build consciousness. Oh, sorry.
No, keep going. Keep going.
Okay. Build consciousness on what would constitute a dramatically more equitable future for all children. Commit to shared purpose, meaningful goals, and aligned measures. Strive for excellence. Cultivate joy, drive, and shared accountability.
Great. Thank you so much for reading that, Miranda. As you can tell, again, these first 3 bullet points come from the vision component. The 4th one comes from the strategic action, and the final one comes from relationships. So thank you for sharing that, just so we know where our work lives. Okay, so to jump into our work today, I want to make sure that you are onboarded with all the information you need to feel successful. So this is our agenda. So we have already done our little vision board and overview in the past few slides. In just a moment, you are going to get some time to show and tell with the artifact that you prepared for today in your pre-work. From there, we're going to be launching into a discussion around the bar of excellence. I'm really making sure that the through line between what we say is great for kids is actually happening in your vision. And then the last part is we will schedule some next steps and a meeting to follow up and give feedback on each other's vision. I want to name that there's feedback too that you had given to Teach for America, asking them to consider limiting the number of documents that were open at one time. So if you have this Google Slides in front of you open, at the very end, you're going to see many blank slides that look like this. It's called Blanks Idea Catcher, and this is a space for you to record notes. Of course, you don't have to use this if you prefer to take your notes on paper or on the computer. That's also fine as well, but we want to make sure that we're being a little bit more tech friendly and making sure that you can access things all in one place. So if this is your preferred model, then we encourage you to take notes in the Google Slides. Okay, that being said, let's jump in. So it's time for show and tell. So as a K-1-2 teacher, have you ever done show and tell in your own teaching experience or in your classroom? And can you tell us about the basic structure of how this works? It's not a trick question.
I have not done it in my classroom, but I assume that kind of rotate off and show each other our stuff.
Yes, we show people our things and we tell about them. Absolutely. Everything that we show has a story to tell. So thank you, Corey, for letting us know that. Even though you have never done it yourself, that's okay. It's exactly what this means, show and tell. So in this, the purpose of this time is to share and examine each of our personal bars of excellence for our content area and move towards identifying what constitutes an excellent, more equitable, and educational experience for students. So that being said, I want to make sure that when people are sharing, you're capturing what they're saying either in the note catcher. These are things that you want to steal and make sure you are doing in your own practice because we want to work smarter, not harder. So in just a moment, we're going to launch into the show and tell protocol. So how this works is you are going to show your artifact. That's step one. This could mean sharing your screen, holding it up if you have something with you. It could be chatting like maybe it's a link and you can put it in the chat. If you want to talk about it and demonstrate it, that's fine. Any way that you can show your artifact. From here, you want to tell more about your artifact. So tell us, why did you select the artifact and why do you see this as excellence in your area and how is that reflected in the thing that you are talking about? From there, you get a break because then we get to ask you questions in step 3 to clarify or extend and examine and connect what you are talking about. And again, this is like a time to steal these ideas. You're recording this somewhere. And then we come back to you, get to answer our questions and tell us even more. So I'd like to know from you, I did prepare an example. I don't know if that would be helpful to model this. I'd be more than happy, or we can just launch into what you all have. So please let me know, do you prefer launching into an example or just with what you guys have?
I'd like to see an example.
I'm curious about your example as well.
All right, okay. 2 people vote for example, and I linked it in here too. So I'll pull this up right now. So I want to name that I was looking at a document that we're going to actually look at later on in the session. And that comes from your pre-work. It's the Vision for Learning K-5. And I took some of the elements at the very beginning and I started to think through what did this look like in my classroom when I was in K1-2. So the first element that I copied and pasted into my own document was students apply their learning to their day-to-day lives and their world around them. So this being something that's really important to me, right? Like we want to make sure that the learning isn't just flat and stagnant, like it's something that lives and that is actively embodied by kids. And that's when they retain that information. So I start the year by giving students an inventory. So I usually did this when I was doing their guided reading assessment to see where their reading level was. I realized that launching into something so personal like a test is sometimes jarring for kids. So I wanted to know a little bit more about them before I launched into something that could sometimes make them feel very stressed. So I started by asking them these series of questions about, you know, what name do they like to be called? Where were you born? Your country, the languages you speak. At my elementary school, we were really diverse and I really wanted to be intentional about bringing those experiences into the classroom. And I apologize, it looks like it says my internet connection is unstable. So if I come in and out, I'm here. So I included that example below. You're looking at that on that page. The next thing I wanted to name too is that whenever I was doing anything, teaching, it could be academic expectations, behavioral, social, emotional, I might always ask kids why. Why is that important? So if we were talking about, you know, the expectations, like right before we were going to launch into reading centers, we would name a couple things that we were going to make sure that we practiced, and we also talked about why that was important. And I didn't accept answers like, you know, so I don't get in trouble. No, that's not the why. Like I am not here to tell you what's right and wrong, although that is part of our job. I as an authoritarian, the teacher, I wanted to make this a shared experience for kids. So I really pushed them to answer the why to connect back to them. Like, why is that an expectation in our reading centers that you work the entire time? And I wanted something connected to, like, if I can work the entire time, I know that I'm getting smarter and I can, you know, be even better tomorrow, kind of thing. So that's one example. The second element I copied from that document was students are metacognitive and aware of what they are learning and how they are learning it. So these are examples I found on the internet, but somehow sharing with students like what they are learning about, again, why it's important, but also helping them to progress monitor and see where they are in this learning process. So these are just tracking sheets, and you can develop them to be more kid-friendly. Some of them have very specific standard language, like the standards language. You can break those into objectives and like I can, you know, add single digit numbers, that kind of thing, so that they know where they are in their track to mastery, so that they can see their goals in action and where they are in achieving those. Another way I did this, and I'm going to share it in a little bit too, I always communicated every week home with parents. So I would send home any assessments with students after I had entered the grades into the system. But before sending them home, we would actually work one-on-one and set some goals. I found that this was so powerful, that feedback moment that you get to have with somebody one-on-one to say, hey, talk to me about the things that you did well. Where are your next steps? And how can I support you? And a lot of the times it was just like, I need to make sure that I'm going back to check my work because I realized that I made some silly errors. 5 + 6 isn't 10, it's 11. Like, let me make sure that I'm being really diligent in reviewing my work. So goal setting is super important. Element 3 from the document talks about students experience learning as whole people through explicit and integrated social and emotional skills instruction. This is where my heart lives. Like, this is the work of K1 too. They're little people. They need to be cultivated socially, emotionally. So I have a couple examples that I listed here. I think it's important to name first that in the beginning of the year, I was really intentional about co-constructing expectations. So at Whittier, we had 3 quote unquote rules. That was be safe, be responsible, and be respectful. But it was really important that with my kids, we talked about those expectations and made them part of our experience. And I did this by helping them to get ownership in, like, what does this look like? A lot of kids can tell you, like, I need to be respectful, or that person wasn't respectful, blah, 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 but they can't name what that looks like or sounds like. And if they can't name what that looks like or sounds like, they don't know what respectful means. Same thing with responsible or safe or whatever your expectations are. So being able to co-create that with kids in all the various spaces. When we go to the bathroom, how does this look? What does it sound like? Let's go practice it. Like, wow, positive feedback. That was great. And intentional feedback if students are struggling, because that's how you internalize those things. We did a lot of this work also in my 3rd bullet point I named here. We had a morning and end of day meeting where students actually were able to identify the expectation that they were going to maybe struggle with the most. And then they got to choose an accountability partner, somebody who they trusted, who could have their back to if they were struggling. That person can be their person to come and support them. Sometimes that was a teacher, sometimes that was a whole class, sometimes that was a friend. The kids were able to identify what exactly that they were going to do. And I always, again, threw in that why is that important to you, to get it really internalized. And those expectations, I had an example of that posted here. It says 9 through 12 is really what it looks and sounds like when we're talking about being safe, responsible, and respectful. I even at one point turned these into little clips, so they got to choose the thing that they wanted to focus on the most. And they put their little clip with their name there, which meant they had ownership over this experience, which was all about that 4th bullet point. And the last thing I mentioned earlier was that parent communication and involvement. So I used Class Dojo, and I communicated weekly with a very short slip of paper. I snipped it there. I always had a little teacher comment. Sometimes it was generic. This one was generic. Happy Friday. Please make sure you are practicing reading for at least 15 minutes every night. And I attached the Class Dojo report and any tests. So element 4 was all about students engaging in literacy in all content areas. So this was an example I took from when I taught 2nd grade. We analyzed cause and effect, but we didn't just do that in like a once and done activity. I really wanted to be intentional in this work. So we saw this in our work in science. We saw this in our work in reading centers. We saw this work when I was in guided reading. So I kind of snipped a couple things. So there's a through line in what we're doing. The things that we teach kids aren't isolated and one small event. They are overarching, and when we can make that an overarching experience, kids are more likely to retain the material. The last element that I copied from that document are students engage in inquiry, apply computational thinking, and solve problems. So this was a big push for me my 2nd year. I realized that the way I taught math my 1st year was very sit and get, and that's tough for 1st grade and not best practice. So I helped kids to engage in math centers where we had a variety of stations, and they actually got to engage in the work. one of the stations I loved the most we called it problem solving protocol, where I would give them a problem that would push them to apply computational thinking and really get to the depth. And they all got a different color. I gave them a marker, and every color had to appear on this piece of paper, so it was a group activity. So, somebody would draw a picture, somebody would write what they were trying to do, someone would describe the answer, that kind of thing. So that being said, those were a lot of examples to help jog your memory. I'll take I'll make this portion short because I want it to be about your experience too. What questions do you have about those artifacts that I shared with you?
I've got nothing as of right now.
Okay.
I thought that was explained very well.
Okay. Martha, do you have any questions?
Nope.
Okay. Miranda?
No?
Okay. All right. I know it was a lot. But I'd really like to hear more about what the artifacts that you have brought and shared with the group. So let's turn it then to someone else, and I will push us to ask questions in this section so we can get to know your thing more. So who would like to go first?
I can go first.
Martha. Okay, go ahead. Tell us about your artifact.
Okay, I can go first, but I cannot share the screen. I was,
That's okay.
Okay,
We'll be good listeners.
Okay, I'm gonna just a second. Okay, I'm gonna explain. Well, my active was to show you how I did videos for my parents and my kids. And when I make this video, I really put in my mind that when this video being intentional, I want to make sure that my kids and my parents can access to the same quality of education. So when I was planning all this, how I'm going to make these videos, I started doing this the past semester was with Seesaw, and a lot of people didn't know how to use Seesaw. So when I started doing these videos, I started saying, okay, I record the first one and I said, okay, the intention is this is gonna be seen by the parents and by my kids. How are they gonna see this? So I say, okay, I need to create a link because I can send it through email, I can send it through text, so that way they can access no matter what. They can access from their cell phone, they can access from their computer, and they're gonna be able to see it, okay? And then I realized that the screen that we have is not the same screen that the kids was having, because our screen looked different because have all the future for the teachers that the kids don't see that. So I was able to talk to my principal, and he willingly let me borrow for a little bit the Chromebook that the student gonna be using, and that's how I record my video. And then I was saying, oh, okay, I not only have people speak Spanish, I also have people speak English. So I said, okay, I record my first video, and I said, okay, I'm gonna put subtitle. But then my experience on some of the Latin family, they cannot read. The parents, they cannot read. So I say, okay, I need to make sure that they are able to understand. So I decided to do two videos. The one in Spanish, when I'm talking, and the one in English, when I'm also talking in English. And then what I did, I make this presentation when I said, if you prefer to listen to this tutorial in English, click here. If you prefer to listen to this tutorial in Spanish, click here. So that way I make sure that I include everybody that was part of my class last semester, and I make sure that they was able to get a quality education that I was able to offer at that moment. So that was my show and tell. I couldn't show my presentation and anything, but I hope that helped.
Martha, thank you so much for sharing. I'll start with the questions. So there's a reason that you intentionally chose videos as a way to connect with families, and I suspect that there was an intentional reasoning behind that. Can you talk to us a little bit more about why this is so important to you?
Why is so important? Because at the moment, when everything happened, a lot of parents still have jobs, and then they didn't have job, and some of the level education that my parents have is not to elevate to read it. So I find this way like this is perfect. This is fit for my family. This is the way they even the kids can watch the video and do it themselves if they are able to log in. That was the hard part for my little one with the internet. But once they was able to log in using the internet, they was able to follow my instructions. So that give the chance for the parents to learn and for my student to be able to do it by themselves. So that's why I decided to go with the videos.
Thank you for sharing. Let's take one more question from either Coy or Miranda.
I have a question. What kind of videos did you post on Seesaw? Like, were you just focusing on educational stuff? Were you going outside of that and working on like personal development, or what were you doing with that? And not only what, but how did you come up with your ideas of what to post?
Well, that specific video I was talking about, it was more for instructional for parents and students how to use Seesaw. But after that, I started recording my class. So that way they can see the mini lesson and they can follow through with the worksheet I want them to do. So after that, that first video, when I was doing the tutorial for how to use Seesaw, I realized they have a really good tool they can use for my parents that wasn't able to log in when we was having the Zoom meeting because there was a working or because something happened, any reason, they have the chance to still see what I was teaching, and they have the chance to see how they can answer the worksheet. So that's, I don't know if I answered your question, but that's how I use it.
That was good. Thanks.
Guys. All right, Martha, thank you so much for being our first volunteer. You get to choose who goes next to show their artifact.
I don't want to choose. I like better when you guys let us be. I like that better. I don't like to choose.
Martha,
I don't like to put in a spot.
That's fine. Martha has said that the next person who would like to go as a volunteer, if no one volunteers, Martha, I'll have you choose. How about that? Who would like to go next?
I can go.
Okay, go ahead.
So I just realized that I left my backpack at school. So we're gonna pretend that this is a journal. At the beginning of the year, last year, all of my students received just like a little notebook journal, and in it, one of the behavior interventionists at my school helped me write little notes in all of them. And with that, we did a lot of kind of like counseling and group work in my classroom. And part of the journals is every single morning we would have a journal entry that was giving them either one, the chance to kind of like share about kind of like how they're feeling or whatnot, or I always had a journal prompt at the beginning of each day. And we had breakfast in the beginning of the day, and this was their kind of like ticket to go to recess, and we had specials about 15 minutes after school started. So our time before that would just be them having the chance to write that stuff down, and that would give me my chance to go and check in with them. And then whenever we would come back from our specials, then we would take our time, and with the amount of kids that I had, I just had a couple share each day. So then everyone would be able to share by the end of the week. And this was a great chance for the kids, one, to not only kind of develop and understand what their emotions were, if there was something that they wanted to share. This was sometimes something, sad or bad that happened the previous weekend. Maybe it was something good that they did. But it was also a chance to kind of hear them develop some of their stories and hear some of their creative minds think and work. And I realized that in the classroom, it kind of brought a lot of them together we had a couple moments that led from this that I had a lot of criers in my classroom, and there was a couple times where all of my boys just had a little cry session together. But it was something that they were able to kind of learn and grow from. And I would not have been able to come up with this idea by myself. It's not really something that I would have thought to do, because I just kind of started off asking like how their days were, how their weekends were, what they were going to do for the weekend. But this helped me elevate that idea. But then with that as well, it also helped them work on their writing, because as part of that, I would look through them every week or so, at least for a couple of them, and I would pull them up and we would kind of talk about their writing, see where they were at with their sentence structures, where they're at with their grammar, with their spelling. And I think it was something that kind of pulled together a lot of pieces of my classroom, and gave me not only the social emotional side of my classroom, but also really helped me focus on that education and that community builder.
Thank you so much for sharing.
That's it.
I love it. So I heard you talk at the very end about the social emotional piece and how building those capacities in students is so important. Can you tell us a little bit more about what the impact of this experience with the journal writing had on your classroom culture and the climate that you had with students?
Yeah, because definitely at the beginning of the year, I had quite a few mean souls who just wanted to bring each other down. But I'd say at least everybody a couple times shared something that like kind of impacted them, whether that's something that happened way in the past or something that happened just very recently. And it kind of gave everyone an understanding that like maybe they're not so different, or they've been through some stuff too, and like, oh, I probably shouldn't do this to this person because, you know, they're already dealing with a lot. And just seeing the way that people reacted to one another when there was like a negative story told or something bad that happened, you could tell that there was like a direct impact on our community that really just brought everybody together.
Thank you for sharing. Let's take at least one more question for Coy. Go ahead, Martha. Yes.
Oh,
Okay, Koi, I like the idea a lot. But my question is gonna be, what happened if you didn't have enough time through the week for everybody to share? What happened? You just roll over for the next week, or?
Yeah, I would write there, like if it got by, I mean, it happened fairly often because some kids would share for a while and some kids wouldn't share for very long at all. They would know I would just write their names up on the whiteboard, and they would be my first ones to go on that Monday.
Good question. Miranda, I see you're unmuted.
yeah, I forgot my question.
That's okay. That's okay. If you remember it, you can come back and we can make this a very authentic conversation. It doesn't have to be in this moment in time. But Miranda, are you ready to share your artifact?
Yeah, so I'm gonna share my screen with you guys. I just want to say this website I'm showing you is not mine. I am building one. This was where I got the idea from. It's another teacher at my school, but I'm building one right now, but I'm a perfectionist, so no one can see it till it's done.
Okay.
Oh, disabled screen sharing.
I'm going to make you the host, and now you should be able to share.
Okay. Oh, I need to go to the home page. So I really loved this idea because I have been trying to rack my brain of how, because we're using Google Classroom with my second graders, and like the first in kindergarten, they're using Seesaw, so that it's a little different, but I was like, how can I get all of my information in one place and that's easy for parents to access and students to access? So I really liked how this website was set up. It's pretty simple. You can click on the parent portal, and it takes you to a parent survey. It also has links back to Hogan. This link, she has it set up to where it's just the same link or same Zoom meeting, so they can hop on there at any time and shoot her an email to get on, so that you can be like more accessible, I guess, or hopefully to parents. And then the student, the same way, she's got all of her links, all of her schedules. I was also wanting to include like a survey for students in mind, just to kind of get some. I liked the survey that you showed in your example, Melissa. Get some like background knowledge before actually meeting them. But I just loved this because it's just very easy to use and helps keep everything organized, which I have been struggling with that, with everything being online, because I'm not very tech savvy. So yeah, I don't know how to get off of this without. Oh my God.
You hover down towards the bottom, it will kind of pop up like the stop share, like kind of have to like go toward, okay, got it. Okay, awesome. Thank you for sharing, Miranda. It sounds actually kind of similar to what Martha is doing a little bit. I'd love to hear a little bit more about the intentionality behind building this website and what you hope to accomplish as you connect parents and kids and you all in this learning experience.
Well, my intention behind it is, like I said, to kind of get everything in one spot so that we're all not scrambling to try to communicate with each other. I'm hoping that it makes communication easier and that parents will be more likely to reach out to me if they need something, as well as students. And then with the surveys, like I want to get to know my families. I know last year I didn't start off the school year with strong family connections, and it could have helped me out a lot throughout the school year. So that's like my main goal for the beginning of the school year, is just to get those solid relationships started.
I love that. Thank you, Miranda. Let's take one or two questions.
What is that on? Is that, I saw that it was Google something, but what?
Yeah, it's Google Sites.
That website made from?
Yeah, it's Google Sites. So it's free, just like Google Slides and Google Docs. It's just an app that you can get through your Gmail. I had no idea it was there either. I just found out about this like Wednesday, so.
And sorry, I had another question too. Have you used Seesaw, and if you have, why are you using that over Seesaw?
I have not used Seesaw. We were kind of just told that we were going to use Google Classroom instead of Seesaw. So it's been kind of difficult.
Gotcha.
About the kids navigating it and everything, but it'll work out. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
It will be. Martha, I see you're unmuted. Do you have a question as well?
Yes, I have two. Okay, so this Google site is like a website where we can create a website. That's how it works?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it'll give you your own link to your website and everything.
Oh, that's awesome. And one more question. Could you share that presentation, please?
The
Google site.
The site? Oh, yeah. I'll put it, let me get it, and I'll put it in the chat.
As I say, yeah, if you want to pop it in the chat, or if you want to pop it into the Google Slides, that's fine too. Awesome. I'm inspired by you all. I'm excited. I kind of want to go back to live in K-1-2 world. You guys are doing some really incredible things. I've taken note of the things that you've done as well. So I appreciate you engaging in this experience. So one thing, Miranda, if you don't mind, in between toggling between pasting and whatnot, if you could make me host again, there's No worries. There's three, if you hover over my picture, there's 3 dots. And when you click that, one of the options listed is make host. Thank you so much, Miranda. You're the best. All right, so we are moving into a little break. I appreciate you engaging in that work together. Before I click go on the break, in order to prepare us for the next portion of our time together, I want you to make sure that you have that TFA Vision for Learning pre-work ready. That was, it was the document on the Box account, and make sure you have your word, phrase, and sentence ready from that document. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that's fine. You can scroll forward, and if you need access to that, it's linked in that little, it says here. So make sure you have that ready. I'm gonna push go. Feel free to mute yourself, go off camera, do whatever you need. 5 minutes starts now.
Whether you're going back to the classroom or back to e-learning, Walgreens is right around the corner with the last-minute essentials for your back-to-school list. Get smart deals on everything from snacks to school supplies. Like this week, select varieties of Wexford school supplies are only 79 cents. Stop by your local Walgreens today. Offer valid with card while supplies last. Restrictions and exclusions apply. See walgreens.com for details.
Alexa,
Yes.
I'm a little confused. I'm looking at the Vision for Learning document, and what are we supposed to do on that?
You just have a glance through it, and then when we come back, we're going to find one word, one phrase, and one sentence that resonates with you.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. righty. That is great. Hope you enjoyed yourself in that quick 5 minutes and you got whatever you need to refresh and refuel your mind and your body, spirit, all the good stuff. We are going to launch into our next section of today's time together, which is all around looking at that vision for learning document. And what I want you to do is copy your word, phrase, or sentence. It can be all three, it doesn't have to, in this slideshow right here. And Martha, as always, I'd be more than happy to, no, don't feel bad at all. Like, I admire you, you know, no power and you're still with us. Like, get it. We appreciate you, girl. So if you want to chat it to me or if you want to say it out loud, I can record it as well. So I'm going to give us 2 minutes to do that. If we need more time, I will adjust. So make sure you're popping that into our Google Slides. And Koi, I don't know if you have access. Realize I chatted the link before you got here. Is that something that you need? If you do, I'm going to put it in the chat now.
I have the Google Slides.
Okay, great. Perfect. Awesome. So choose a column, put your name there, and then pop in your word, phrase, or sentence. And then Martha, I'm ready for you however you want this to look.
Okay, repeat what we're doing just one more time, please.
No worries. So you are going to have that vision for learning document open, and you are choosing a word, phrase, or sentence that resonated with you from that. I call it an article. It's not really an article. It's more like a document of lots of good things. And you're going to paste it into this vision for learning template on slide 9.
Cool.
All right, Martha. Yes, I'm ready for you.
Foundation, equality, and behavior.
I'm gonna put it in. Is that a phrase from the resource?
No, I think those are the words that kind of stick with me.
I like it. Can you say it one more time?
Yes, ma'am. Foundation, equality, behavior.
Behavior. And then foundation or foundational?
Foundation.
Okay.
Foundation. The first one.
Perfect. I want to make sure that I captured it correctly. You're in, Martha. You're good.
And it's what I record. Don't forget, I can pull the document. That's what I recall.
No worries. Again, we appreciate you, making the best out of a not so great situation of having no power. So thank you so much for being so willing to engage despite having limited, things in your immediate realm of influence. So we appreciate you. All right, that was actually 2 minutes. Miranda, Coy, do you need any more time?
No.
No.
All right. Miranda, I see your name first. Is it okay if you share with us your sentence and start off with why you chose that?
Okay. My sentence was, students are empowered and self-determined learners who believe that they can be successful, make choices about how they learn and experience academic and social success. I really liked this sentence because it made me think of back in the beginning of our presentation when we were talking about what would we like to hear our students say in 10 years. And this is just something that I would love for all of my students to feel empowered and taking control of their learning and their lives. And that's what that brought up for me.
Yeah, that's really powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Koi, are you okay with going next?
So I said that, sorry, I just took a bite.
I didn't realize that. I was looking at the document. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
You too. We could go to Martha.
No, I'm all good.
Okay.
All right. I said that students build conceptual understanding and their learning builds on funds. I think that's supposed to be fundamentals. funds of knowledge, cultural wealth, and prior learning. I chose this just because I think it kind of summed up a lot of what you're aiming for in a classroom. And I guess some of the stuff that you're hoping for is as well, students having the opportunity to be able to build on their past databases of knowledge. And I think it just kind of sets out a good vision of what we're aiming for, especially when you are speaking about a vision for learning, because you want to, I mean, learning is your highest priority. And I think that just kind of summed up your aims for that.
Really well said. Thank you for sharing. Martha, tell us more about why the words foundation, equality, and behavior were chosen by you.
Okay, I'm gonna start with behavior. The behavior part, because as I said before, I want to make sure they are able to name how they're feeling and how what are the techniques that they can use to calm themselves and to regain the strength and use the energy that they have inside to have the strength to move forward or pull forward. So that's why I'm focusing on the behavior part, because I learned that if my little ones learn all these techniques when they are little and they start using it on their life, that's gonna help them to develop a better opportunity. The foundation, I meant by that, on the educational part, if they got a good structure and technique, how to read, how to do math, all these academic things, that's going to help them in the future. The quality, I think if they start to realize the difference between I can say the other word, equality and quantity.
Okay.
They're going to have a better, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it's like what you need is not the same as what the other person needs.
Equity?
If they start, that's the word.
Mm-hmm.
They start to realize that they can understand and can have a better empathy for the people in their community, and they can function better. So that's why I chose those words.
Wow. These things really stand out to me of what you all posted as well. And I think it comes back to the things, and Miranda, you even said this, back to show and tell, and back to, 10 years from now, what will students say of us? And not really that it's about us, but it's about the experience that we helped to create for students. And you're entirely right, Martha, that we are making this something that is even better for kids, so that they truly have all the tools and resources moving forward to lead their best life. So thank you so much for sharing, Martha, Coy, and Miranda. I really appreciate you engaging in that. So I'm going to skip this one because we don't need, that was just an extra. So let's have a quick whip around here. So anyone can share out, and it doesn't have to be one person, one question. If a question stands out to us more, I want you to feel free to share. So I'm interested to hear what you believe the primary purpose is of our content team of K12. Why do we do what we do?
I think to build strong foundations that students are going to need to be successful once they leave elementary school.
That's powerful. And we know the work is large in K1 too. The stakes are high, and we get to have a say in that, which is so exciting. Thank you for sharing, Miranda.
I think, kind of going off of what Miranda said, with giving them the skills of what they need to carry on. I mean, it all starts here. If they don't learn it in kindergarten, first, second, third grade, they're not going to know how to do it when they're in 10th, 12th grade. And I think that leaves a really big impact on people in elementary school, but especially the younger grades, because that's when you develop a lot of those skills.
100%.
I'm going to add a little bit more. I think is to make the student to fall in love in the contact areas, so that way they can master the skill and they can keep that energy going to the next level or grade level. So
we're the foundation. This is where it is. And in Missouri, we know that pre-K is not a mandatory experience. So I know many of you have probably often had kids who entered into maybe first grade without that experience in kindergarten or pre-K. So it can really start with us. So thank you for that. So I'm interested to hear also, how does what you are talking about serve students in the short term and in the long term? We kind of hit on this a little bit already.
Like with what Coy said, like if they don't learn it now, like when they're younger and develop these skills and these foundations, like they're not going to have them when they are in, high school trying to do these things. It's going to be a lot harder and more of a struggle, and maybe they learn to not like school or like learning, and so in the long term, yeah, they need, sorry, I'm kind of like all over the place.
No, I hear you. Keep going.
Yeah, I'm done.
I appreciate that. You're right. I think it just brings it back to this, the stakes are high. The work that we do with our littles in K1, 2 is so important and has a tremendous impact on the things that happen later in life, even from 3rd to 4th to 10th to after life. I mean, we get to cultivate this love of learning, and it starts with us. So thank you, Miranda. I'm going to skip this next question because I think we've kind of hit that as well. So getting more specific, what goals and measurements might reflect the practices that you've already named? You can connect this to what you were talking about in your artifacts. I saw a lot of this live here.
Wait, can you repeat that question?
So what goals and measurements might best reflect these priorities and the practices that you're naming right now?
Definitely building strong relationships.
I like that. And then how can we measure that relationships are strong? Like what evidence will we have that suggests that we have strong relationships in our classroom or that the climate and culture is strong?
I think that's going to reflect when the student engage on the activity that we are asking them to do, how they engage the activity, how they try to express themselves and make sure they meet let's say, the standard that we are asking them. I think that's one way to see it, to reflect that when we see like, oh, he really took the time to do this the way they asked him to do it. I think that's one way.
That's a great example. Yeah, student engagement. The proof is in the pudding. Are they doing the work? Are they doing the thinking? Yes. So I'm curious to hear in our final reflection question, what key strategies help us to realize or actualize our purpose that we're talking about? How do we bring this to real life?
Interaction.
Say more, Martha.
Yeah, the interaction that you have with the parents, with the student, the way that you try to connect them. Like when you're explaining the class, if you are talking about animals and you say, oh, have you been in the zoo from the Casey Zoo? Like, I have been there too. And that way, like, okay, they can connect like, oh, I have been there too. So I think that interaction that we're having with them is one strategy.
I like that. That's a really good example. I'm going to push for one more. Someone give us one more example. How do we actualize this in real life?
I think kind of going from that with the interactions is finding ways that they can build connections, and not only that, but kind of bridge between like the real world and their school life, or like what they're learning in school. Once they, I guess going off what Martha said again, having them realize they're like, oh, like you do this too, like, oh, I can relate to that, but then also then be able to see like, okay, because my teacher is saying this, then, you know, I can now find some value and truth in other things in my life because of the things that I have learned here, solely because this person like trusts you and can relate to you in different ways.
Absolutely, Coy. And I think I see the lived reality of that in your artifact that you brought with us. I think that is the true actualization of exactly what you're talking about. Also getting kids to name the why. Like, why are we doing this? Why is this important? Why is it important to you? Absolutely. Thanks for engaging in this short reflection here. We've talked about a lot so far. You've looked at other people's artifacts. You've heard other people's ideas. I want to intentionally give you time and space to record these things in your own vision. So there's a document that you have access to, and I want you to find that, and maybe it's in this Google Slides or in a separate Google Sheet or whatever that looks like. And I want you to take time to implement these things that we are talking about. Your ideas, the ideas of other people. I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes so that you have enough time to kind of think through at least the very beginnings of what this might look like. Can I really fast though, before we go, get one person to share out what we're about to do for the next 5 minutes, just so we're really clear. And if it's unclear, I can repeat it. That's fine.
Can you repeat it, please?
No worries. Absolutely. I hear it. I'm telling you, this weather too, it's like draining on me. I'm like, come on, brain. Okay, for the next 5 minutes, I want you to get up the document where you have your vision and your strategic plan and start to make changes and edits to that so that you can really intentionally embody the work that has just been discussed and capture your ideas. I don't want it to be a fleeting moment in time where it's like, oh, put that later. Can I get one person now to tell us what we're going to do in the next 5 minutes?
We are getting out our document that has our vision and strategic plan, and looking over it using some of the things that we have talked about and trying to possibly tweak some things or realize where you can possibly better something.
Boom, Coy, you got it. Thank you. If you need to go off camera, put some music on, that's fine. I'll put some soft tunes in the background, but I'm set a 5 minute timer now, and then we will come back. I'm here if you need anything. 5 minutes starts now.
Crazy day it's been.
I'm looking at the chat. You use slide 12 as reference if you're getting stuck. There's some good resources from your kickoff that will help in this process.
Any idea where I would find? I'm not on my computer right now, my personal computer, and so I'm having trouble finding my the vision and strategic planning.
The document.
Yeah.
Without knowing, I know like in my experience, they had a shared drive for us, but if you also want to just capture some of your thoughts on another document, that works
Okay.
too. But I also see Libby typing away, and I think she has some other advice too.
Yeah, I'll stop typing and just give voiceover. So the kind of process that we're on right now is like you started sharing some thoughts in the independent assignments from kickoff, and you got those responses back via like your Google form notes. And then you're having the meeting today with Missy and kind of generating some ideas and capturing things however you've chosen to capture notes. You're drafting your vision and strategic plan for this year after this meeting. And so the documents that we like shared at kickoff in the next steps document were kind of like a written like how to do this, but we haven't moved into this work yet for this year. Missy's going to tee up in a moment, kind of like doing that in preparation for your next meeting. However, we know that a lot of people have stuff that they used last year, and it might just be easier to like go back to whatever you were using for your strategic planning last year and update. Or you might want to start over from scratch. And if you want to start over from scratch, that like material that we shared at kickoff has like a sample template and some more information. I'm going to just chat in the link to the thing that I would recommend going to, which is the vision and strategic planning guidelines.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you, Libby.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I'm going to stop typing and just say this because
No, I'm glad you did. Great. I appreciate that. No, I know that a lot of people are probably in a different space and time and planning, and so that's totally fine wherever you are. You can pick up where you left off, wherever that looks like for you. A quick time check. We have just under a minute. And again, this is not your final product. It's just a place for you to capture thoughts and make sure that you are somehow recording these things and they don't get lost in translation. All right, that is time. If you can navigate back to me on Zoom, that would be great. I know that time is really fast, and so please don't feel like, oh my gosh, like I needed to have all these things done, and like I was so quick. I get it, I hear it. That was really fast, and it's okay. Again, this is just it could be just the beginning for you. It could be, you revisiting your document from last year. I know Libby had mentioned that. I think Coy, you had a placement change, so like the realization of this could look very different for many of you, and that's okay. It does not have to be perfect, and we're here to support you moving through it. So I would be remiss if we didn't touch base on this, and a lot of you made the artifacts that you shared were so important and talked about this question exactly. I think it was either a couple days ago or in a prior session with Teach for America, you guys had made a Padlet together where you talked about how you invest students and their families and making sure that this is a truly equitable experience for everyone. So I'd love for you to take a moment in this slide right here to record at least one way in which you can co-create your vision and goals that are meaningful to students and their families. So just take some quick time right now to just type that in the box. And this is on slide 13. How are you investing in families? What does that engagement look like? A lot of you, your artifacts are already doing this. So I'm just going to, read out what you're writing already. I'm seeing family surveys. I love that idea. I would add on to it too, student surveys. Like they love giving you feedback too. So the use of surveys, so powerful. Thank you, Anonymous Octopus. We appreciate that response. I see another one, including the values for your family. Seek out what they believe in and what they hold close to themselves. Yes, yes, yes. To be truly culturally responsive and relevant is to incorporate those experiences into your teaching and learning with students with intentionality into your lessons. And when we seek to better understand what our families value, we get to not only know them more, but we make our own practice more intentional. Awesome. Really good work. I really appreciate you guys for sharing those thoughts out. Again, this is not the end all be all lists. There's endless ideas, but this is a great start. Can I get one person to share out the words on this next slide? I'm not quite sure what it might be. 14. It starts for change. If someone could read that out loud for us, that would be great.
For change to occur, leadership, vision, and a clear plan of action must be present. Vision is the ability to talk about the future with such clarity. It is as if we're talking about the past. Hold on. Vision is the ability to, I had to read that again.
Yep. No, thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. To summarize, vision setting is all about making decisions about the moments that we create with students, how we interact, and how we spend time with them in service of their collective dreams. Vision is absolutely essential and necessary to ensure that we are making the strategic choices that we are intentionally leading kids towards those important goals. So after today, and I hope we didn't scare you here, you're going to draft or redraft your vision and strategic plan. And this means that you can also reach out to David or Libby if you need assistance. I also included my contact information if you need a thought buddy. By no means am I an expert in any way, but I'd be more than happy to talk with you through what you're thinking and whatnot. Sometimes thought buddies are really helpful. I also want to name that we're going to meet again in September, and during this time, we are going to share our draft visions and strategic plans for feedback. There are some resources listed at the bottom, and Libby also referenced them as well, because you might be in various planning stages. You might be tweaking the one from last year. You might be completely revamping it and starting off from scratch. You might be inspired by some of the things that your peers have said in this time. So that being said, one of our last there's two things we need to do before we go. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a second. I would love to hear from you our next meeting date and time. So this is a time where we can get together in September and look over these drafts. So if you could grab your phone or your calendar, wherever you are planning from, and we can actually choose a date and time right now in September. I think it might be helpful to know, do you guys have a class probably through UMSL or another university? What days does that occur?
It's all online.
Is it synchronous or asynchronous? Like, do you?
Asynchronous.
Okay, so there's not like a time.
No.
Okay, good. Okay. Does anyone have any preferences of day? If not, I can make some suggestions.
I am open to any day. As for right now, I don't really have like a school schedule.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I would prefer not the first week of school.
Yes.
So that week through the 8th through the 11th, that would be awesome. But
yes.
Same for me. Anytime after that, I believe I am perfectly free.
Okay, I like that, and I think to your point, Coy, we to make this, you know, a somewhat great working draft, I think pushing it at least out at the earliest, I would say the 14th. I want to give you enough time to think through this, and I know the back to school crazy is real. So yes, I agree.
Yeah, could we maybe even do the first 2 weeks after the first 2 weeks?
Yeah, absolutely. What about like the week of the 21st? How does that look for you all? Like, is there a specific day in there that you would prefer? Is that what I hear you saying, Miranda? Like,
Yeah.
not, okay, perfect.
Fridays would be great.
I can do Fridays.
Great. And I will also say there's, we would need about a 2-hour chunk of time. So I
Okay.
know that would be, if we did, we could do as early as 7, or we could do
Maybe not a Friday then.
maybe not Friday. Okay, that's fine. How about like a Thursday or a Tuesday? Does anyone have preference over one of those, the 22nd or the 24th?
Either one.
Either one works for me. We could do the 22nd.
Martha?
20 seconds sound good.
Okay, sorry. You started talking right as I said your name. All right. So let's do the 22nd. What time does school end for you all?
4
4.
for me.
4:15-ish.
Okay. So my last question is, do you want to dive right in and go like a 4:30 to 6:30, or would you prefer to push it off, have some dinner, and then maybe meet, you know, like a 5:30 to 7:30?
Yeah, how it works.
I think 5:30 to 7:30.
Okay. So let's do, putting this down, we said Tuesday, right? Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
September 22nd, and that is 5:30 to 7:30. And it will be the same information and whatnot. So we can hop on Zoom. So one final thing before we go, just to kind of summarize our time together, I would love to hear your response to what you get to choose which question resonates with you. So I'd love to hear from each of you either what your one big insight is that you're taking away, or what 2 words best express excellence in our content area. You get to choose your question. What one big insight are you taking away, or what 2 words express excellence in our content area?
I think my one big insight that I'm going to take away from today is learning how to, I guess, develop strategies in the younger students. Just because I moved down from 5th grade to 2nd grade yesterday, so I'll be with the younger ones now. So now more of my focus is not how to develop them and get them ready for middle school, but instead it is turning into how do I teach these kids to develop strategies that they're going to need for now the not only the rest of elementary school but like the rest of school, instead of kind of expecting a lot of those strategies to already have been learned behaviors while coming into me. How do I now start those behaviors?
Absolutely. And Coy, like, our hearts go out to you. I mean, that's a big change, and you're not in this alone. You've got Martha, you've got Miranda, you've got myself, Libby, other people. So if you want to have any thought partners, we're here for you.
I
Thank you
appreciate
for
it.
sharing.
I'm happy about it still.
Good. Okay. All right, who's next? You get to choose your question, your insight, or 2 words that express excellence in our area.
I can go next. I came up with this community sense. And the other word, personal development. Those are the 2 words the thinking community sense, because we really need to have that connection and find different ways that we can connect to the families and the communities. And not only the families, also the people that are around the school, the people that go to the school, volunteers, and all these big networks. And personal development, because each time I learn something new, something that I can utilize for my personal life and for my class.
Wow. Thank you for sharing, Martha. That's powerful. All right, best for last, Miranda. What's your question that you are responding to?
Okay, I'll pick the first one. The big insight I'm taking away from today is just how important it is. Like, we have such a big job to set those foundations for children, and sometimes it's easy to lose sight of that, like how much of a difference we're actually making, and also just how relationships play into that, like and how important they are in developing like there's, I can't think of the word.
Competency.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing, Miranda. And I think all of the responses you shared, I think what I'm taking away is intentionality, and that everything that we do, all of the things that we choose and that the tools that we have put in front of kids, it's very intentional. And that was very evident to me in what you shared as a group. And I'm super excited to be able to continue to work with you and hear the visions that you bring to the table on September 22nd. A little information. So make sure that you are back at 1 p.m. You get apparently a choice of session, and you can find that information in the Zoom link. And if there's anything that I can do to support you, I put my contact info on one of the last slides. You can text me, you can call me, you can email me. You don't have to do any of that. You also have Libby as well, and David. And if there's any final questions that you have for them, just pop those in the chat and I will make sure they find their way to them. If not, I hope you enjoy your lunch and have a wonderful Saturday, and I will see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you so much,
Thank-
Melissa.
Thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you guys.
Bye.